This is Stunt Boy. This guy right here, him. You can't tell just looking at him, but he's the greatest superhero you've never ever heard of. And the reason you've never ever heard of him is because his superpower is making sure all the other heroes stay super and safe. Super safe. And he does it all on the hush. That's right, it's a secret, but now, because of my big mouth, you know. So if you see him, don't call him Stunt Boy. At least not when his mom or his dad or his granny or any other heroes are around, because they only know him by his secret identity, by his household name, his human name. But I clearly can't keep secrets or secrets, so I might as well tell you that name too, which happens to be the best human name that a superhero can have, Portico Reeves. But in order to understand how he became the greatest superhero you've never ever heard of, you first have to know where it all started, in the castle. Portico Reeves lives in the biggest house on the block. The biggest house in the whole wide neighborhood, maybe even the biggest house in the whole wide city. Don't know if you would consider it a castle or nothing fancy like that, but to Portico, it sure seems like one. A giant castle of rectangles made from the glassiest glass and the brickiest bricks on earth. Okay, so some people call where Portico Reeves lives an apartment building, Skylight Gardens, and that's fine too. No matter what it's called, Portico feels lucky to live there. And why wouldn't he? Living in an apartment building is the best. It's like living in a television show where behind every door is a new TV show. And Portico knows all the characters. Like Mr. Mister, who stands outside apartment 1B all day long, tying and retying and re-retying and re-retying his shoes tighter and tighter each time. He does this because he's scared he'll leave his feet somewhere, and as long as he has on shoes, he knows he's still feeted, which is way better than being defeated. Or Frisbee Foster in apartment 3G, who got a nickname for being thrown back and forth by her big sisters when she was a baby. Or even the kooky characters in Portico's apartment, like his grandma, Gran, who was so old her hair had changed colors from black to gray to white to purple. Oh, and let's not forget about the smarty-arty purry-furry family cat, who's called a new name every day. But enough about them. Portico's granny and cat are cool, especially the cat. But the best thing climbing the walls and jumping off counters in apartment 4D is Portico himself. Only problem is, he also has a terrible case of the frets. What? You never heard of the frets? You kidding, right? The unsaid syllables, the worry wiggles, the bowling ball belly bottoms, the jumpy grumpies, or the grumpy jumpies, depending upon who you ask. The hairy scaries, or worse, the very hairy scaries. No. Maybe it's because your mom probably calls it what Portico's grandma calls it, anxiety. The X is tricky, ain't it? Might cause some anxiety. Try this, anxiety. Just means there's nervous in the brain that makes nervous in the body. That's the frets. And the only person who ever seems to be able to help Portico get unnervous and defret is the other best person in the building, the one and only and one, drumroll please, Zola Bronner. Zola lives 1.5 doors down from Portico, and they're best friends, like best. 2 fingers on a 2-finger hand. Known each other for, let me think, 163 days. 163 days? And declared themselves best friends on day number 1, which is all the time you really need to know if someone's your best friend or not. It all happened after the first day of school. Zola was new. Just moved into Skylight Gardens. She hopped off the bus, and guess who came chiming and sliming up like the stinkiest ween-age snotbot ever, who thinks he's not the stinkiest ween-age snotbot ever just because he got an earring he swears he put in his ear all by himself and didn't even cry? Herbert Singletary the Worst. Yes, that's his real name. When Herbert Singletary the Worst saw Zola, he couldn't help himself. Hey, new girl, your glasses look like the coolest glasses I ever seen in my whole entire dopey ween-age life. Now, this is not what he was going to say, but before he could get out whatever mean joke he was going to say, Portico came jumping off the bus. And once Herbert Singletary the Worst saw Portico, his face went from regular mean to jokey jaw, teasy teeth, ha ha head mean, the worst. Portico had shown her how to get to the bus stop earlier that morning, and now he was going to show her how to get back home. Just keep walking. Hey Portico, what's it like having a dad that smells like a trash can? It's fine. It's fine? So you good with your dad smelling like a ham and poop sandwich? You saying you don't mind the smell of toe jam and ear back? That one threw Portico for a loop. He'd never actually smelled the back of his ear. Toe jam, well, that's a different story. Herbert Singletary the Worst followed Portico and Zola into their apartment building and onto the elevator. And what about your mom? She still cutting hair? Yeah. Portico looked down at his own feet. His brain started churning and the inside mix-up got going. His heart dropped to where his stomach was and his stomach jumped up to his heart space, which meant his stomach started beating and his heart started growling. Oh no, here come the frets. Then why yours look like a chewed up pencil eraser? Herbert kept dogging, slapping Portico on the back of the head. He went on, boasting and roasting, all while trailing Portico and Zola down the hall. With parents like that, who you gonna be when you grow up? Herbert taunted. Oh, I know. Probably nobody. Portico wanted to turn around and tie Herbert Singletary the Worst into the best knot ever. A triangle double half hitch, you can't get this knot out knot, like the one Mr. Mister showed him how to make for his sneakers. But Portico tried fighting back once before, and let's just say it didn't work out so well. After an eon, Portico finally arrived at 4D, his apartment, and tapped on the door lightly. His grandma was always home. Gran, Portico called, his voice breaky and shaky. I'm home, let me in, please. But Gran never came. Portico was pretty sure she was resting her eyes. She was so old and had seen so much, she used to be a nurse and looked at balloons and tubes and squigglies for 1,000 years. Her eyes always needed rest. The only problem was, whenever she was resting her eyes, her ears seemed to be resting too. And her mouth seemed to snore. Or was that her nose? It's weird. Luckily, what with Herbert now whispering insults to Portico like sour secrets and the frets turning Portico's insides into a tower of terrible, Zola's mom opened the door to their apartment 4E. Whew. Hey kids, how was the first day of school? Mrs. Bronner asked. Fine, said Zola. Most educational, said Herbert Singletary the Worst, pretending to be Herbert Singletary the Angel, which was not a thing. See y'all later, Herbert grinned as he backed down the hall. Guess there were more mean shenanigans for him to shell out downstairs. Portico didn't say nothing. What's that face, young man? Mrs. Bronner asked. It's Portico, right? Portico nodded, knocked on his door again. What's wrong, Portico? Nobody there? Asked Mrs. Bronner. Well, you're welcome to hang out in here. Remember when I said Zola lived 1.5 doors down from Portico? Well, between apartment 4D and apartment 4E, there was another door. But not a whole door like Portico's and Zola's, a half door. A door that looked like it had been cut down the middle. Neither Portico or Zola knew why there was a door there or what was actually behind it. All Portico and Zola knew was that Herbert Singletary the Worst lived there. Now, the moment you've all been waiting for. Once inside, Zola tried to get Portico to calm down. You okay? She asked. The living room was covered in lawn chairs, which would have been weird if her father wasn't a lawn chair salesman, but he is. Zola calls them yawn chairs because she thinks it's funny and because they're perfect for napping. Portico, you okay? Portico couldn't answer. Too much fretting going on. Zola frowned, then unfrowned. I know what, she said, sitting on one of the chairs. Let's meditate. I don't want no medicine, Portico mumbled. It's not medicine, Zola said, giving Portico bozo eyes. Well, it sort of is, but not the drinky kind. My mother taught me. Mrs. Bronner was a breathing teacher, as in she taught people how to breathe so they could remember they were still alive. Portico sat on the lawn chair next to Zola's. Okay, so first, make yourself a pretzel, Zola said. You got pretzels? A snack might be perfect for defretting, might put his belly back in his belly pocket. No, make yourself a pretzel, Zola crossed her legs. Portico did the same. Now, close your eyes, take deep breaths, in through the nose, out through the mouth. Portico followed every single instruction. His mother would have been proud. "You like TV shows?" Zola asked suddenly. Even though he had no clue why she was asking this in the middle of meditationing, it was the perfect question because Portico happened to love TV shows. I mean, doesn't everyone? TV shows were the best things ever invented. Better than video games, better than candy, better than drawing, but drawing's pretty cool, and definitely better than books. "I love TV shows," he said. "They're the best things ever invented. Better than video games, better than candy, better than drawing, but drawing's pretty cool, and definitely better than shh, close your eyes." "How you know my eyes open if your eyes ain't open?" he asked. "I can hear that they open." Wait, what? Was he blinking too loud? Either way, he closed his eyes again. "What's your favorite kind of TV show?" Zola asked. This was easy. Easy. Portico loved all kinds of TV shows, but he loved one kind of TV show best: superhero shows. "Mine too. I want to write my own when I grow up." "How many you seen?" "I don't know, a lot. I seen a lot times infinity." "Focus, Portico," Zola said. "So my mother says life is just a TV show and we are characters in it. So what if we imagine this is a superhero show and both of us get to pick one superhero to be?" Any superhero? Any superhero. Portico couldn't think of anyone. I mean, his father came to mind, hanging off the back of the trash truck, slinging gross things into the metal mouth of his pet monster. He thought about his mom too, using those clippers like weapons. But how could he pick between the two? He even thought about Gran. I mean, she memorized every weird thing in the body and actually saved lives when she was a nurse. To Portico, they were all heroes, but not superheroes. Not high sky flying, stronger than bodybuilders, buildings, boulders, and bad guys kind of superheroes. He couldn't imagine himself as none of those. "I don't know," he said, stumped. "Who would you be?" And without hesitation, Zola replied, "I'd be Mata from Super Space Warriors." She took a deep breath, in through the nose and out through the mouth. "So that's me. You think of anybody yet?" "Oh, wow. Portico thought frantically, definitely not meditationingly. "I mean, I guess all I can really see me being is a Super Space Warrior 2. Ain't no Super Space Warrior 2. No, I mean me too. Like I'm a Super Space Warrior too. And plus, there's two of them. They twins, Mata and Potter. I could be Potter. We both can't play Super Space Warriors, Portico," Zola said. "Also, there are loads of superheroes to choose from." Okay. But maybe you can be a Super Space Warrior doing like all the talking and the acting stuff, and I can be a Super Space Warrior doing the fighting and the flipping stuff. You mean like, what you call the people who do the dangerous things? A dummy? No. A boy? Please, I could do dangerous stuff too. I'm just too smart to. Right, so a dummy. You're not a dummy. It's something else. Zola opened her eyes. "A stuntman boy." Portico opened his eyes too. "Yeah, a stuntman boy. That way, you can be the hero, but don't gotta get hurt." Portico had never thought about being a stuntman boy before, but now, after meditationing, he couldn't see a reason to be anything else. But that ain't really a superhero. He could be. You could be Stunt Boy.